What are the elements that successful business leaders have in common? What values help assure success in today's competitive business environment? Join us as we explore the lives of some very successful business leaders.
Woerner Turf is headquartered in West Palm Beach, Florida, an area known for its affluence. The company owns turf farms all across the United States and estimates approximately $40 million in sales this year. But like so many of the businesses our series has profiled, Woerner Turf didn't start big.
In 1960, I was born in a small rural agricultural town in South Alabama, right near the coast between Mobile and Pensacola, Florida. Growing up on a family farm was always a very interesting life, and it was a good life. We had the animals, we had all kinds of food crops, we had the planting season and the harvesting season, and so many different facets to the family farm that there was always excitement, something new going on. It was never mundane or anything. There was always something new happening. I think also growing up on the farm taught me a work ethic. It was a lot of hard work, and as young kids we had chores to do every day. We had responsibilities there on the farm, and I think it was a good way to come up as a young child. Back in the 80s, late 70s and early 80s, agriculture in the United States, food crops really depleted in value to the point that it was not a viable business. It couldn't be profitable, and we were struggling to survive on the family farm. And we began to look for other alternative type uses for our land. And there came a point in time that we discovered the possibility of growing lawn grasses. And at that time, lawn grasses were becoming a very popular item in America, where people wanted an instant lawn. There was a demand for office complexes and commercial buildings, apartment buildings and all, for the instant lawn, for erosion control and for beautification. And seeing that need arising in our culture, we began to grow turf grass on some of our land. Established, and it takes approximately a year to grow a crop and then harvest it, and we found a ready market for it when we produced it. So we continued down this line as over a period of years we converted our operations from growing food type crops to growing turf grass.
This gradual beginning proved to be a mere jumping-off point for the Woerner business. Rapid growth followed, and with it came changes, both in the company and in the family.
At the time that we began in the turf business, there were 6 of us boys and our father in business together. In 1997, our family, for various family reasons, decided to divide the corporations up, giving different brothers and their families turf operations in various parts of the country, so that more family objectives could be met as the next generation was beginning to come out of school and begin to be interested in being involved in the business. After the various corporations were divided, some entities were held for the purpose of establishing turf sports fields, complexes, specialty type applications for turf, as well as the other key components being real estate development land. That was another component of our business, and a couple of my other brothers had taken on a project for developing those lands, as well as continued in the turf business ourselves. My brother Larry and I remained at the corporate headquarters and continued our operation now that it had scaled down to about a third the size that it was prior to the end of 1997. We today have about 350 employees across the United States. We have operations in Florida, South Carolina, Virginia, Indiana, Texas, California, and Hawaii. After doing that, at that point, we were then a national turf producer. We had farms in many major metropolitan areas throughout the United States. We were then dealing with we were the first and only established turf company with national exposure for our business. What you'll find that's required in a modern turf farm here in America today would be land holdings, significant land holdings that are required.
Well, you got about 3,500 acres in sod, and you got about 3,000 in sugarcane.
Also equipment, lots of machinery, harvesters, mowers, tractors, all types of equipment that are used, and it's very equipment and labor intensive to grow the type quality that is necessary to meet the demand here in the United States. And there are many different facets to growing grass. Again, taking many varieties about a year to establish before they're ready to harvest to be shipped.
We start our planting probably the end of October, and we'll try to get finished by January 1st. And then we'll start harvesting that following year of October. And the harvest usually lasts from October till probably May.
The phenomenal growth Woerner Turf is experiencing has resulted in a financial windfall for the company.
We find that the turf industry in the United States is growing at a rate of about 15% per year. Our company has exceeded that in most years, 20-25%, I would say, growth rate. In the year 2000, we're looking to do between 35 and 40 million in sales. My role as the CEO of the company would be more focused towards the vision side of the company, where we're going next. The way my brother and I, since 1997, have been managing our companies, we basically co-manage the business. We divide our responsibilities by my brother Larry being responsible for all the operations outside of the state of Florida, and my responsibilities are for the operations within the state of Florida.
During the course of the day, what I do is usually talk to my farm managers throughout the United States and to see what their needs may be and just touch base with them, find out what's going on, if they're able to ship, if it's rained out, or what the weather conditions may be. But just generally to touch base with the leadership out there at the different operations.
Our marketing strategy mainly involves people on telephones that are contacting landscapers and developers, letting them know of our product availability. And a large portion of our business is from existing customers, but also our telemarketing team are there to develop new customers, making new contacts, because the landscaping industry tends to change and turn over, and different companies come in, others go out. And so it's very important to stay in contact with the industry leaders in the installation side and landscape side of the business to make sure that we are channeling our product into the marketplace.
Even with impressive business success, Lester Woerner's life wasn't without challenges. The loss of his infant son put his faith to the ultimate test.
My wife and I were married, and God gave us our first son, a beautiful little boy. And my son had never been sick. He had never had a cold. He was just growing every day. We became very close in a short period of time. And it was probably the highest high that I've ever known when he was born. It so drastically changed my priorities as well. And only 2.5 months later, my son was at a babysitter taking a nap, and he forgot to breathe, and he never woke up. My son died, and going through that great, deep, dark trial in my life, had a dramatic impact on me. After that, the Lord gave us another son, and He gave us the due date of the second son on the same date that my first son went to be with the Lord. And it was a way that God was saying to me that, hey, I have everything under control, because, you know, if you'd have took 1,000,000 combinations, you couldn't have made that happen. It was God's way of sending a message to me that everything's fine and that your son's with me. He's at a better place than you can provide for him, and you're going to be with him one day. At my son's funeral, after the pastor had spoke and those who were going to be speaking had spoke and said their condolences, I had reserved the last 5 minutes of the service for myself, because I had written a farewell letter to my son the night before, and I stood before all of the people there in the church where I was at, and physically read my son a farewell letter, and I gave my son back to God. There was a sense that I had to open my hands and give my son to God, and he was the most precious thing in my life at that time. And as I gave my son to God, I had my hands open to release him. And since then, I feel that God has asked me to keep my hands open, and that He would put things in and He would bless me with things, but to keep my hands open. And there would be times that He would take things from me. And that is the way, and that is the principle and basis that we in all of our companies, all of our various companies, give to the Ministry Foundation, so that we can then turn and give to the poor and needy, and to taking the good news of Jesus to the ends of the earth. It's a way that we continue to keep our hands open, giving back to God a portion of what He's so richly blessed us with.
Lester Woerner's faith extends into his business, as he literally puts his money where his mouth is.
In 1997, my brother and I formed a ministry foundation, and that entity is established for the purpose of taking the same message, the same message of the love of Christ to the ends of the earth.
Don Young is Executive Vice President of Woerner World Ministries.
We're involved right now in 5 major areas. Marriage Encounter, which is a 3-day, 48-hour weekend with couples. It's usually business and professional people. We do black tie dinners, and that's for executive ministries, and we do that here in the States, and we do it in a couple countries overseas. We do crusades, evangelistic crusades, and that's mostly always overseas, and the last 5 have been in Latin America. We do benevolent ministry, and we have 3 orphanages that we support. 1 we built, and we have our own children in the mountains of Peru. And the 5th area is kind of a combination of all of them. We work with our local church. We do youth ministries and those kinds of things.
What we're doing in Peru is starting a new project. It's a new orphanage in a place called Anduelas. And we've teamed up with a group of people down there that already have an orphanage that just needed some assistance to help grow their program that they already have. So we teamed up with them and decided to start another orphanage, and we took that on as our project, working with a good qualified team that's already in place.
Lester and I work very well together. We'll have strategy sessions. We'll meet together over lunch, and we'll talk about what it is we're going to do in the next couple of weeks or next couple of months. We'll lay it all out, and he'll bounce back and forth ideas. He'll even go through some of the things that he's going to speak about, talk back to me, and we'll tweak it, and then he'll go and do it. We've taken him overseas on a couple occasions, and he's done very well speaking overseas. Every person he talks to them about the Lord. In the airplanes, in the marketplace, in the street, doesn't matter. If you're a person, you're in front of him, you're going to hear about Jesus.
Jack Frost, now a Woerner Corporation executive, is one such person.
Some 4.5, almost 5 years ago, I was the president of my own company. And one of the companies that I worked for as a consultant in this group was Warren's Turf. Warren's Turf Group was acquired by Woerner, at which time I met Mr. Lester Woerner. He was actually the key man in the presentation meeting. Went to lunch with him and began talking with him about lots of things, including my family, my wife and 4 sons, his family. And during lunch, he mentioned the loss of his son, and in a very, very moving way. And being a father, it was very, very hard for me to even talk about, because I could imagine, well, I couldn't imagine the pain that the man must have gone through when he lost his son. Something in our conversation led him to invite me back to his office, his private office, and we began talking about my background. And as we talked, he began asking me questions about my relationship with Christ and with the Lord. And as he asked these questions, it became apparent to me that there was something missing from my life that I wanted to learn more about, and he was more than willing to share with me his belief in Jesus. My relationship with Lester has deepened. I find it very easy to serve whatever he wants me to serve in whatever capacity. I never had that feeling before. I was always in control, as you have to be. I find that in working here with Lester, I have become more sensitive to people, more open to people, less controlling. I attribute a lot of that to his showing me and leading me into this greater realization of how Christ can be and is now a strong part of my life.
How does Lester Woerner's faith actually influence the day-to-day operations of his corporation?
Recognizing as the CEO of a company that has some 350 employees and living according to the Bible, God's Word to us, it is very clear that in God's eyes, each of our people, even though they have different talents, different skill levels, different areas of responsibility, different authority positions, in God's eyes, all of those people are one and the same. And so it's my responsibility to make sure that everyone is treated in such a way and knows that no one is any better than the other person, even though their skills may vary dramatically. My faith is very important to me. My word is very important to me. My integrity is very important to me. And I realize that it can take a lifetime to build integrity, and in a moment you can lose your integrity.
In several different ways, I see Lester's faith as a positive influence in this company. First and foremost, he speaks very strongly in his actions of integrity. There's never any gray area in our company, be it dishonesty or misrepresentation. That's one of the primary ethics that we have here. I
would hope that my faith reaches out to my customers in that they would see clearly that we strive to do what we say we're going to do, to provide the product that we say that we're going to provide. And if we don't, be very quickly to make it right to the customer.
In our decisions that we make throughout the company, all our decisions, we try to hold them to a level of integrity in our business, to deal with customers with honesty, deal with our employees with integrity. And I look at them as me being out there working on that end, and I want to treat them in that way that I would want to be treated.
Once a year, for all of our workers, our laborers who do the harvesting and mowing and stacking of the grass, many of them are migrant workers from other countries. Some are Americans. We like to, every year, host a banquet for them during Christmas. And at this banquet, we have it catered. We have it at a park, a really nice place where the kids can come and play. And we invite not only the employee, but also his family and maybe some close friends or neighbors to come with them. So it becomes a big event for the community, and there'll be a few hundred people that will be there, children and as well as adults, and we'll hold a nice banquet for them and let them know that they're appreciated, thanking them and reminding them the reason that we're celebrating the season is the birth of Christ, but on the other hand, also a way of saying thank you for the hard work and their effort as well.
So, where does Lester Woerner see his success coming from?
In our business, it is very normal for the business to be open on Sunday so that grass can be harvested and distributed to job sites to be there ready to go early Monday morning. However, it is our company policy to allow all of our people to be off on Sunday, not only to be with their families, but also be able to go to church and worship God. Some would say that that would be very costly, particularly for the nation's largest lawn grass producer to be closed on one of the main harvesting days of the year. However, we don't believe that we lose anything because we believe that God and His blessing on us and on our business has many ways to recompensate and help us be able to make up for any possible losses. There's no question in my mind that the personal success that I have achieved in my life, not only as an individual, but also in my business and company, comes directly from God and His impact on my life, living according to the Bible and living according to His precepts and laws. I attribute my success to Him as a result of living according to the Bible, as well as giving my life and trusting Christ for my salvation.
I base the success of our company on our relationship with Jesus Christ and how He's blessed our company and had His hand on our company. And it's just that simple.
That's what made me excited about this operation here. And you feel like you're doing something more than just working. You're working for people, maybe an orphanage in South America or something that you're part of, and it's just more than just business.
For more information regarding this program, please visit